Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping right in today.
Let's do it.
We want to unpack a really fascinating mix of sources, all looking at, well, how effective people operate, leaders, yes, but really anyone trying to navigate, complex human stuff.
That's right. We're talking inner strength, strategic leadership, resilience.
And that tricky balance, right, between being authentic, being you, and needing to influence situations sometimes.
Absolutely. We've got insights from Stoicism, think ancient philosophy, but also really sharp takes on power, on human dynamics.
Plus perspectives on, surprisingly maybe, generosity and communication.
Yeah, it all ties together. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key nuggets from these different places, give you a shortcut to understanding these deeper dynamic.
Think of it like getting an inside look at what makes someone truly effective, whether you're leading, building relationships, or just, trying to get things done.
Exactly. So where do we start? To operate effectively out there, you need something solid in here first.
Right. You have to build that unshakable inner core.
And the sources point heavily towards Stoic philosophy for that foundation.
Yeah. Marcus Aurelius. He has this incredibly powerful line. Something like, no one can thwart the purposes of your mind.
Right.
Because it can't be touched by, fire, steel, tyranny, slander, anything external.
That's the core idea, achieving this kind of internal sovereignty, control over your own thoughts, your intentions, your purpose. So external chaos just washes past you in a way. It can't break you.
That internal control is the bedrock then. Without it, you're just reacting all the time.
Pretty much, just blown around by whatever happens. And one of the sources, drawing on this Stoic idea, introduces a really practical tool for this. They call it the mental reverse clause.
A reverse clause sounds legalistic. Or like a plan B.
It is kind of like a plan B, yeah, but applied mentally to everything. It's like building a backup option into how you think about things happening. Like it works off Murphy's Law, basically. Acknowledging that, if something can go wrong.
It probably will, eventually.
Exactly. So setbacks, problems, unexpected hurdles, they aren't exceptions to the plan. They are part of the plan you need to account for, mentally at least.
So instead of getting completely derailed when things inevitably go sideways, you've already sort of war-gamed it in your head.
Yeah.
You've thought about a constructive response.
Precisely. You've done the mental prep work. The sources give some good examples, like a friend betrays you. The reverse clause isn't just despair or anger.
Right.
It's the mental pivot. Okay, what can I learn here? About trust, maybe, or judgment. Can I find a way to forgive this for my own sake?
That makes sense. Or the more dramatic one, thrown in prison.
Yeah, extreme example, but it illustrates the point. The reverse clause there is refusing to be broken internally, finding ways to still act with integrity, maybe even serve others within those awful constraints.
Or something maybe more relatable for us. You lose hours of work, tech glitch, poof.
Yeah, we've all been there.
The reverse clause isn't, smashing the keyboard.
Hopefully not.
It's that internal switch. Okay, that path is blocked. Annoying, yes. But how do I restart? Can I do it fresh? Maybe even better this time.
That's exactly it. The external event can block your progress on that specific path. But your mind still has the power to choose a new path, to redirect. That mental agility, that resilience, it comes from that inner strength Marcus Aurelius was talking about. It's step one.
Okay, so step one, build the strong inner core. Mentally ready for setbacks, ready to pivot. Got it. Now what? You step out into the world, you have to deal with other people.
And here's where it gets really interesting and, frankly, more complex. This tension, the sources explore.
The tension between, being authentic and needing to be strategic. Is that the right word?
Strategic influence. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a real conflict explored in these writings.
Because on one side, you've got people like Simon Sinek. His whole thing is about trust, collaboration.
Right. Build trust first.
He says something like, instead of showing up to let everyone know how great we are, show up to find out how great everyone else is, which feels very open, genuine, relationship first.
And that's absolutely key for building loyalty, real connection, no doubt.
But then
you have Robert Greene, and he dives right into the, let's say, messier reality of human interaction. He doesn't sugarcoat it. He says deception, masquerade. These aren't necessarily evil. They're a developed art. A potent weapon, even.
A weapon? Wow, that's stark.
It is. He makes this really provocative point that the ability to, lie or deceive is maybe one of the things that separates humans from animals.
Okay, so he's not saying be a terrible person, but be smart about it. Prudent. Use an iron hand inside a velvet glove.
Exactly that phrase. Be subtle. Master the arts of indirection, subtle influence. The idea is to navigate situations, maybe even outmaneuver resistance, without making people feel manipulated or resentful.
Because if they don't realize they're being influenced?
They don't push back. They don't resist in the same way.
Okay, so cynic. Focus on others. Build trust. Green. Master deception. Be subtle to get things done. That feels like a really difficult line to walk. How do these sources try to bridge that? It sounds ethically tricky.
It is tricky. It's a tightrope. The way the sources seem to reconcile this is by sort of reframing Green's idea. Strategic influence doesn't have to mean harmful deception, not outright lying necessarily.
Okay, so what does it mean then?
It's better understood as, let's say, selective disclosure and strategic positioning.
Selective disclosure, meaning you're not making things up, but you are consciously deciding what to share, when to share it, when maybe to hold something back if it could be used against your goal, and definitely how you frame things, how you present ideas to make them more likely to land well.
Precisely. It's about understanding all those layers. Green talks about the surface stuff, the hidden motives, the politics, and then choosing the smartest way to engage with that reality to get to a good outcome. Hopefully one aligned with your values, of course.
So you're navigating the layers, not necessarily inventing fictions.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. You're curating the presentation for the context.
Which leads us right into the next practical piece. Mastering this art of adaptive presentation.
Right. Green talks about wearing appropriate masks. Now, that sounds bad, maybe.
Yeah, masks sounds insincere.
It can sound that way, but the sources frame it differently. It's not about being fake at your core. It's about taking a slightly detached view of yourself. Realizing you're not just one rigid thing. You have different facets, different aspects of your personality, different skills.
And you choose which aspect to bring forward depending on the situation.
Yeah.
The person, the goal.
Exactly. You wouldn't or shouldn't act the exact same way talking to nervous investors as you would coaching a junior team member, right? Or negotiating with a really tough counterpart.
No, of course not. You'd adjust your tone, your focus, what you emphasize.
That's adaptive presentation. It's sophisticated social intelligence. Being rigid, always the same, that actually limits your effectiveness hugely. This ability to adapt how you appear and interact, Green suggests it can actually free you from this inward heaviness, this burden of trying to be perfectly consistent when life just isn't.
Okay. And part of that adaptability is what the sources call playing the angles.
Yes. This is crucial. It means understanding the multiple dimensions of any situation. It's not just the official agenda, the explicit tasks.
If it's stuff underneath.
Exactly. The underlying motivations, what do people really want? The political dynamics, who has influence, who's allied with whom? The long-term consequences, the emotions bubbling under the surface.
The sources contrast the hustler and the sucker here.
They do. The hustler, maybe not the best word, but the idea is someone who learns to see and play these different angles. They become like an artist of the game. The sucker, on the other hand, sees none of the angles. They can only make one move, usually straight ahead, and often get blindsided.
So playing the angles isn't necessarily sinister manipulation. It's more about having a deep, nuanced understanding of the whole picture.
Precisely. Seeing the simple angles, the complex ones, even what Green calls the abstract psychological angles, recognizing that dealing with people is rarely just about the surface problem. There's always more going on.
And how you communicate in that complex space is key, which brings in that Rumi quote.
Ah, yes. Beautiful and so relevant. Raise your words, not your voice. It is the rain that grows flowers, not the thunder.
That speaks directly to this, doesn't it? Strategic influence through adaptive presentation.
Absolutely. The thunder shouting, using raw power, sheer emotional intensity might get attention, maybe even temporary compliance.
But it breeds resentment. Doesn't stick.
Right. The rain, carefully chosen words, compelling arguments tailored to who you're talking to, delivered calmly, confidently, that's what actually persuades and leads to lasting change. It grows things.
And doing that consistently, being the rain, not the thunder, takes real self-control, emotional intelligence.
Huge amounts. You have to separate your ego, your immediate gut reaction, from the message you need to deliver. Focus on what will actually work in that moment with those people.
Which loops back to that inner core we started with.
Yeah.
You need that internal stability to choose your response strategically.
Exactly. It's the difference between just reacting emotionally and responding strategically. It takes practice, discipline.
Okay, so
Yeah.
strong core, navigate the authenticity strategy tension, master adaptive presentation, and playing the angles. But there's one more critical piece, right? A kind of counterbalance the source's stress.
Yes. And it's really important. The
Yeah.
principle of strategic generosity. It
Mm-hmm.
grounds everything else. It has purpose.
Strategic generosity. Tell me more.
There's this powerful quote mentioned, the value of a life is measured in terms of how much of it was given away.
Wow. That hits hard. And it connects back to Cynic, doesn't it? His idea that a leader's greatest contribution isn't their own success.
But making other leaders, yes, it links perfectly.
So investing in others, mentoring, developing, empowering them, that's strategic generosity.
It is. Pouring your time, your energy, maybe resources into helping others grow. It might seem like you're giving away power or advantage, but it pays back hugely in the long run.
How so?
You build a stronger team, a more capable organization. You get better ideas, better decisions because more people are empowered to contribute. You build a pipeline of future talent. It was an investment with massive returns, just maybe not immediate personal ones.
It's shifting from hoarding power to building capacity around you,
Yeah,
thinking long term.
exactly. And the emotional root of this generous approach, according to these sources, it's gratitude.
Gratitude. How does that fit?
There's another great quote. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Leaders who genuinely feel and express gratitude understand they didn't get there alone. They recognize their dependence on others, the contributions of their team.
And that recognition makes them more likely to give back, to invest in those people.
Far more likely. Instead of constantly grasping for more just for themselves, they're motivated to nurture the ecosystem that supports them.
Okay, so let's try and synthesize this. We start with building that unshakable inner resilience, that stoic foundation.
Yeah.
Then we acknowledge the complexity of the outer world, navigating that tension between authenticity and strategic influence, reframing influence as selective disclosure and adaptive presentation,
Right. Mastering the art of playing the angles as part of that.
and grounding it all, making it sustainable and purposeful, is this principle of strategic generosity, which flows from a sense of gratitude.
That's a great summary. It's a framework for interacting effectively, leading effectively, that's both ethically aware in its intention, hopefully, and strategically smart in how it's done. Inner strength meets outer fluency.
And it definitely sounds like something you have to keep working on, learning constantly.
Oh, absolutely. Studying people, psychology, strategy, practicing emotional control, honing communication. It's a lifelong journey, not a destination you just arrive at.
And the goal isn't just personal gain. It's about creating sustainable value for everyone involved, right? Balancing genuine care with that strategic savvy. That's where the real impact comes from.
Well said. That balance is key.
So this deep dive really took us on a journey
Yeah.
from that deep inner core needed to withstand anything, through that fascinating, maybe uncomfortable tension between being real and being strategic, into the practical skills of adapting how we present ourselves, seeing all the angles, and finally landing on the importance of giving back, of generosity. It's clear strategic leadership, or just effective interaction, isn't simple. It's about holding these complexities, these tensions.
It really is. And maybe as you think about all this, here's something to mull over. How can you personally practice balancing that need to adapt strategically, to wear different masks maybe, play the angles when needed while still staying true to your own core values, that inner self we talked about first? Where is that line for you between smart ethical influence and something less so? And how do you stay on the right side of it while still being effective in a complicated world?
Definitely something to think about. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.